Hey everyone, welcome to the eSchool Grade 7 and 8 podcasts. This week on your podcast, I want you to be working on the very first episode. I want you to start thinking about what you could talk about and in what order uh, that you could have it for your podcast. With our podcast, I think we should be aiming for around the 7 to 10 minute length for each one. Now, before you get too worried about that, let me break it down a little bit for you more. Your introduction and your outro uh, can look to be about a minute long together, maybe 30 seconds for each one. Okay, 6 to 9 minutes left. Then think about having 3 or 4 main points that you want to talk about. If you can talk about each one for about a minute and a half uh, to 2 minutes, then you're looking at 4.5 minutes to kind of 6 minutes there. Don't forget, you can also include music, transitions, and sound effects to help you out. You can also do an interview if you have somebody else on your podcast, and that really helps to add time to it as well. Here, take a look at this breakdown of a podcast by 11-year-old Ty Poole to see what I mean. In this, in his first season of the podcast, in episode 4, he talks about climate change for 20 minutes. Now, I'm not expecting you to have that long, not at first, no way. But he has some really good examples and ideas of things that you could try too. His intro is almost 2 minutes long. It really starts off with him explaining really quickly his ideas about climate change. Then he moves into like his intro that he uses in all of the other podcasts. It has music. It introduces him, his podcast. It's kind of mystical, mysterious, and curious. Then he gives a very quick, concise explanation of what climate change is. And then he asks a few questions to his friends who answer, but that's also questions directed to the audience, to you as the listener. Then he starts to get into the guts of his podcast. He starts to talk to his first expert, a guy from NASA. And that's super cool. And don't worry, you don't have to get somebody from NASA for your podcast. You might consider getting an expert down the road. Don't worry about it just yet. They go back and forth for like 6 minutes, I think. The expert even does most of the talking. There's a quick interlude, another question or two, and then he brings in expert number 2. He talks with Catherine, his second expert, for about 6 minutes as well. Experts are really good at adding extra length because they like to talk about uh, what they're experts in. He starts to wrap it up with a call to action, a challenge or a question for his friends or for you as the audience. And then he adds in a song. You maybe you want to try and make up a song as well, before tying it all up nicely by thanking his experts, thanking the people that helped him make the podcast, and then normally he would say, "In my next episode, I'm going to look at this. This is the season finale," so he didn't have another one right away, but it's certainly something that you can add in for a few extra um, seconds or a minute maybe. Okay. And there you go. That's a quick breakdown of a podcast by an 11-year-old. You can do that, right? The key is to think of some big questions um, and then find out ways to answer them. Maybe it's an expert that you can bring in to interview. Maybe it's a friend that you share this interest with that they could talk about it as well. Um, Maybe you have to find answers online that you kind of go over to in order to answer those questions as well. All of those different things work, and they can help you add time to your podcast. A key that I want you to have for it is to really break it down and to script out your podcast. Um, at some points, you're going to be able to just go off the cuff and make it up as you go along. Um, but always write down your talking points. Right now, I want you to try and script it as much as possible so that you can practice it a few times so that you can make sure that you're not talking super quickly and or too slowly, that you are speaking clearly and that it's easy to hear when you do record it. Um, and that you don't have so many ums and ahs like I have right now. Okay? So start working on your script, start working on how you want things laid out for your first episode. Think about the second episode as well, and then you can start getting to work. All right? Thanks, everyone. Bye now.